How you doing? Good looking.
Good morning, homie.
How are you been?
You know. Your big man's 40 years old today.
Yeah. I'll start talking about that. You don't worry about that.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, Canada. Good morning, REC Nation. Good morning.
Let us know, as always, where are you coming in from? Where are you signing in from today? We got Ottawa. Ken, big shout out to you. You've been giving us support every single Saturday morning. Stouffville, what's up? Amanda Martin, I hope everything is well, girl. We had a great conversation this past week. I know you'll be speaking with Simos shortly this week again. You're going to get both of us. That might be scary. But I'm glad that we got to talk. We're going to start building out that portfolio for you. I know. Exactly, Amanda. We're going to give it a couple of more minutes as people sign on here. Simos,
we just hit just over 100. Here we go.
I think you got the controls to go live on YouTube, but if you think that might start a little kerfuffle, maybe we won't. Hey, Jas, do you read my email about, you might need to come back and say that, Ken. If you did send me an email, do me a favor. If I didn't reply back, I apologize. Just resend it to jas@reccanada.com. Shout out to Peter. What up, Scott? Catherine, you joined us late last night for Nightcap with Jas live on Instagram, and you're back with us today in the morning. Whew, you're like one of us now. I love it. Late at night, early in the morning.
Yeah, guys. My controls don't have the stream to YouTube anymore. So whenever we change in the back end, those are no longer there.
All right, no worries. Tyler's title as air traffic control is going to take on a different meaning today. We're going all over the country. Shout out to Donna. Donna saying hi from Whistler. Donna, we're almost completed our first transaction together. Appreciate your support, your patience to put this deal through. It has taken about 7 to 10 days. You'll correct me if I'm wrong, but you stuck with us. We appreciate it. I'll be getting back to you after this brunch to let you know that I did get everything approved. There's just a couple of things that I want to go over with you, but we're good to go. Shout out to you. Hope obviously you had a safe ride into Whistler. Welcoming everyone. We're going to give it a minute or so. We're in the process of boarding right now for our virtual flight across the country. Shout out to Nikki. Very, very excited about the stop-offs we're going to make. Welcome to REC, Brunch with REC, another edition. It's our fourth one, Simos. I'm not sure if you even noticed that, how quick the time has gone by, my man.
Yes, sir. Time is going by. Weeks are going by. But I mean, things are evolving. Like today, I didn't actually even want to say talk or mention the virus or this quarantine thing, but it's also a little bit naive not to. But I mean, it's easing, and we felt it. We have felt the impact of people getting over the shock and fear. Meaning that people know how to deal with it. People know how to go grocery shopping. People have learned how to get through the gas station. People have learned how to go for a walk and not jeopardize their health. So that initial shock and awe that was in the beginning has dissipated.
Yep.
Activity, I don't know if it was on your nightcap or if it was in a webinar. I think it was actually in your nightcap where Phil Soper mentioned the activity online. Yes, it was on your nightcap. Yeah. The activity online on both realtor.ca and royallepage.ca, which is Canada's biggest private real estate website.
It gets pre-COVID, it gets 4 million hits a month. 4 million hits a month, and it went down in the first 2 weeks of COVID by about 30%. But what he was mentioning was that in the last week, it's right back up to the 4 million. That's funny because you and I are hearing. Obviously, we're seeing it right on the streets. Like people are calling and asking us.
Well, we're feeling
homes.
Yeah,
we're
right.
And
so
for anybody who's watching or listening right now, practically speaking, what happens is in the first 2 weeks, we shut down as we should, complete stop, not even a pause, really like a complete stop. And then the conversations started to happen this past week, obviously in people's homes, like, hey, honey, let's go take a look at a bigger home. Let's go take a look at possibly downsizing. Let's take a look at an investment opportunity. And so that's why both Simos and I and the rest of the REC team, shout out to Tyler, as well as Bobby Pume, Laura Stewart, as well as the media squad. As always, this could not be possible without you guys and our 25 realtors. You guys are really the heartbeat of this team. You make everything happen for us. And shout out to you guys for just keep on giving the top-notch service that you do for our clients. I wanted to, before we take this flight, guys, I'm not sure if you see, it's hard to see behind Simos's head, but you see a big 4-0 there. Our buddy Simeon Papailias turned 40 kind of last night in the morning today. We don't really know. For 15 years, I've been celebrating his birthday twice. I want everyone here that's taking this flight with us across the country. Let's give Simos a huge shout out for his birthday, my man. I again want to say happy birthday to you. I hope you had an amazing night last night, because I know you celebrate kind of both days. You were like 11:58 to 12:02 or something when it all kind of happened. What is that, my man? What are we looking at?
So my wife and my kids. This is a picture of me when I was 5 years old. Gabriel's age, 4 years old, and this is from my daycare. And they put Star of the Week in the newspaper. It's a small town in Alberta, so every week they used to put a Star of the Week in the newspaper. So it says Simos Papailias, and they asked me, what do you enjoy? Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Whatever. I just said that I love tacos. So Simos loves tacos. And I was wearing a Hulk shirt, but in honor to tacos, my wife actually went and brought Mexico to my home yesterday, and she's preparing a tremendous Mexican day.
Awesome.
I'm not talking Old El Paso. It's going to get real over here. So she put what is this called? Not a sombrero. What is it called? Poncho.
Yeah,
she put a poncho over the Hulk, or I think her brother, the graphic artist, did this.
I love it. Anyways. My man. Guys, give Simos the love. It's his birthday. It's the big 40. 40's the new 30, as we like to say. And I know Simos.
Yes, I had hair.
Yeah, you did. Exactly. I know. I always like to say that this is on purpose. I'm not losing hair. I like to have my hair short. But you on the other end, that's all lost hair, my man. That's all lost hair. So guys, today we're going to be taking a flight right across the country. We're going to be joined by some amazing investment savvy realtors right across the country. We're going to be joined by Tony Miller from Ottawa. We're going to be joined by Helen in Montreal. Then we're going to go to London to stop off and see our friend there, Justin Konikow. And then we're going to go over to the West. We're going to go see Warren in Edmonton. And then we're going to cap off our flight for the day with Kelly Fry in beautiful British Columbia. But before we go there, why don't we talk and touch a little bit about our neck of the woods, our backyard, where all my investments are, where I think majority of, if not all, your investments are, Simos, but more importantly, the thousands of clients that we've helped in the last 15 years, 90% of their portfolio consists of pre-construction condos, resale condos, multiplexes, duplexes, triplexes, right up to anything with about 25 doors right here in the Greater Toronto area. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about kind of, the current state, as well as what our forecast is. And we make jokes about you having the crystal ball behind you.
No, and I do. And I no longer joke about it. I now carry it with me at all times.
Yeah, exactly. So right. But nobody really knows what's going to happen. But we're starting to see some market indicators that we've been watching for 15 years starting to play out. So really currently in the market right now, it's safe to say that we're still in a seller's market. And the way that, for anybody who's watching or listening, the way that we determine if you're in a buyer's market or a seller's market is there more buyers in the market than there are sellers? And right now there is, which is actually a good thing even during COVID. But the real market indicator that dictates that is months of inventory. And so if you have 3 months of inventory or less, 3 months of inventory or less, then you are in a seller's market. At anything from about 3 to 4.5, 5 months, that would be considered a balanced market. And then anything above kind of 6 months and above, you're in a buyer's market. Right now, we're sitting right and hovering right around under like the 2-month mark, like a little under 2 months in terms of inventory. How do we determine that? If all the homes that were currently on MLS got sold by the buyers in the market, we have a little less than 2 months worth of inventory. So that's how we know if we're in a buyer's or seller's market.
Meaning that if not a single listing comes on the market,
a new listing
as of today, and everything that's on the market would be consumed in less than 2 months.
Yes.
And that gives you that. And I will say, because like even our entire career, other than 2008, which was obviously a massive global event.
2008, 2009, yeah.
2009, the financial meltdown. Other than that, in our careers, we actually never even saw a buyer's market. So the market really started taking off probably a couple years before I started my career. Like I started my career in 06, whatever it was. It was 06. 05, I started studying. 06 and 07, I had gone through my entire trajectory of courses and everything else. So basically, the market had already, those 90s that dragged the entire market down. Early 2000s with the bubble burst in tech, but Toronto really started founding its footing in 2001, 2002. 2003, appreciation began north of 5% per annum. By 2008, double digits. There was that small decline, and then it's been on fire since. So in 2010 and on, it was double-digit return in appreciations year after year.
Well, and if you just look at 2020, right, Simos, from February to March, we were seeing 13 to 14.5% in the Greater Toronto area. That's 13.5% month over month market appreciation. That's not what
and we don't want that. That's not something that we want. It's not healthy.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been saying a lot that I like the tortoise and the hare story just in so many different aspects of life, but especially for my real estate portfolio, slow and steady always wins the race, right? That 5-6% last 40 years, big sample size. If you look at the Greater Toronto area, we've seen about 7.1 to 7.2% year over year increase. Even that, like I'm excited, pumped about even just having 5 to 6% year over year because it's compounding. So you really don't get that in any other type of investment. The big conversation, and we had this last night on Nightcap, you and I, live on Instagram as well. I had it with Phil Soper, speaking about immigration, because once COVID hit, our first conversations were, okay, like the borders are closed now. Like the borders are closed. We're not going to have people coming in to the country. And so pre-COVID, we were looking at about 2 million people coming into the Greater Toronto area for the next 10 years. That's people coming from outside the country as well as inside the country. So people driving down from Montreal down
and to make the math easy, that's 200,000 people a year. And this isn't like an estimate or a projection. That's how we have been performing.
Well, so and those numbers are from Immigration Canada, right? Sorry.
Yes. Yeah. So it's from 150 to the direct GTA to 200,000 in the Golden Horseshoe. Like these numbers are real. They're posted. The economy has depended on them and thrived on them, and will continue to do so the minute that this global virus situation is under control.
Well, and the conversations we were having in the past couple of days, and even at the start of COVID, was okay. Like borders are closed. This 2 million in 10 years. Hey, we need to really look at this with a fine-tooth comb now. What does this all mean? And when you sit back and actually get an opportunity to think about it, and we think about, this is all we think about because our clients, our investors, their customers are the tenants, and the immigration drives so many parts of our sector of our economy. When we were looking at the 2 million for 10 years, we're like, okay, this might be 11 to 12 years now. But now sitting back, I think it's safe to say, and call this obviously it's my opinion, and I know, Simos, you and I kind of share the similar opinions when it comes to this, is that I have a feeling that the world is looking at Canada and saying, wow, did you guys ever take care of your people? At the end of the day, you like the government right now that's in power or not. I mean, this is by no means ever a political conversation, but they acted quite quickly. They acted actually probably as quickly as we've ever seen. They learned from 2009. They could have acted a little a little faster at that time. But here they came out with benefits like coming out of, we're going to end up paying for this after. But at the end of the day, I think everyone can agree here.
Lives were saved. Lives were saved.
And outside the world, once again, people are going to look and say, that place, Canada, they take care of their people. You can walk into the hospital and you have a broken leg and it's going to be taken care of. They're not going to ask you for insurance right away. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so there's so much more to that, where I actually believe now that 2 million people, it's going to be closer to 9 years and maybe even 8.5 years, because there's going to be that many more people wanting to come into the country. What happens now when you look at supply and demand, we need, as Simos mentioned, 200,000 a year. And maybe Simos, you'll know the exact figure on this. For 200,000, we need about 50,000 households in the Greater Toronto Area. 50,000 households we need every single year. I think the best year we did what, Simos? 40?
27,000 new. Like we're talking. So it depends if you're talking Toronto or GTA. But,
GTA. I want to stick with GTA.
Sure. So you need far more than 50. So I've referenced RBC's report a few times. Overall, as of November 2019, housing study, there was no COVID, there was no nothing. There was a market, and it was right before I started picking up mad steam again. Thank you, Caroline. It was right before we picked up picking up mad steam. 50% is where we lied. So we needed purpose-built rental. We needed new homes. We need so much. We need further density and densification in Toronto, and we're only delivering 50% of the demand. Call it $27,000, $40,000. It doesn't matter the number. What matters is that we're not even delivering half of what we need. Interestingly enough, there has been a surge of rental stock in the downtown core of the city. I got the question yesterday in my inbox.
Yeah.
I've been trying, the client goes, I've been trying to rent my unit for 2.5 months, and it's not renting, and prices are coming down in Toronto. So I said, and you call me after 2.5 months to tell me that you've been trying, what have you been doing? You know, like Kijiji, I've done whatever we teach. He's done all those things. And I said, so what's been happening? He goes, well, I can't show it. I said, okay.
Can't show it because of COVID, yeah.
Because of COVID. So I said, COVID's been around for a month. What happened the month and a half before then? Well, twiddly-dee, twiddly-doo. The bottom line is this. COVID has an impact. The market has not changed. Students are running back home to Ottawa, to Newfoundland, to Alberta, to BC, to wherever they're coming from. Is there going to be a glitch in the marketplace? For everybody who's wondering, how is this impacting? There's a few things for Toronto specifically, and I really want to move on to Montreal because we have a lot of coverage to do. So I'm gonna kind of try to end the market update for Toronto this way. Nothing has changed in Toronto from a tech sector, from market dynamics, from demand. Is there a blip in the matrix right now? The answer is yes, a big one. This blip is called COVID. This blip is called social distancing. The market has stalled. Businesses are not open. Every single service person in the city, every waiter, every dishwasher, every cook, every person who works in retail has had to pack their bags and go home. So they haven't been working. They cannot afford to not work for 2 weeks. These aren't people who are wealthy, who are sitting on a bank of money. These are people who live paycheck to paycheck. This is your everyday Torontonian. This is your everyday person. They got creamed. By the time the benefits came, by the time this, that, the other, there is going to be a glut of inventory for 2-3 months till it's absorbed and life is back to normal. If we should be so lucky to have schools reopen for September, I'm talking universities, I'm talking the whole, if the system opens up for September, guys, this is going to be back to business. If there's a further small delay, so be it. But we're talking about real estate here. We're not talking about lollipops and chocolate bars. Like, this is a long-term investment, centrally located in the best part of the world, in the best country on the planet. So that's what.
I was gonna mention that, like, from a major economic perspective, we were late by a year for a downturn. If you look back, every 10 years, something kind of happens. Nobody obviously predicted any type of pandemic or something of this sort where it was actually, we shut it down on purpose. The government decided to put everybody on pause. And the nice thing is now we're starting to hear reopening, first phase, second phase, third phase. But every 10 years, we always see a slight little blip. It actually is what's supposed to happen is happening as we speak from an economic perspective. You have the dip every 10 years and then you go back. So real estate goes up and down, upwards. You just need to hold on to it. It's if you sell your real estate, in our opinion, that's where you have the possibility of losing.
Because you're cashing out.
It's very safe to say that REC Canada is very confident, in fact, that immigration is going to be strong in the Greater Toronto Area. It's kind of the place that, where we don't manufacture anything here, right? And so it's really service-based. The jobs are going to still be here. In fact, people's jobs are waiting at their office. They just happen to be, the computers are shut down right now. And so overall, we feel that the Greater Toronto market is still very, very healthy, but it's on pause right now for another month or so. Oh, I think I just got a poll that came in here. Are you in favor of the 3-phase opening plan in Ontario? Guys, Bobby Pume, our Director of Operations, is obviously taking care of our polls right now. Make sure that you get your answers in there. You'll see some things that are around the real estate market, but then there's just some questions that we just like to get to know people. And so take your time, make sure you answer those polls. Where's our first stop off? Simos, who are we bringing on this plane with us first?
We're going straight to Montreal to one of my peoples, Miss Eleni Arkivos. Eleni has been a broker for a long time. She represents Montreal well.
You had to say it with the Greek accent, eh? You had to say it with the Greek accent.
I said Eleni first, trying to be a complete Anglo, but it's Eleni. So what I'll do is let me just see if Eleni is here. She is here.
We just unmute her.
Unmute. Hold on. Let me see here more.
I like to call her Helen.
Ask to start
Eleni,
video.
Helen.
Okay. All right. We have an Eleni coming on. Yes, Elenitza. Kalimera.
Kalimera. Tikanis.
Welcome.
I don't know what you guys are. I don't know what you guys are saying. It all sounds Greek to me, anyways. But how are you?
Geez.
How are you? How are you doing? How are you doing?
I'm good. You guys can call me Helen for the Canadians. Eleni is the real Greek name. But
guys,
doing good.
Everybody in the REC Nation, let's give Helen a big kind of shout out. Like, give her a warm welcome. You'll see some messages coming in, and keep your questions, if you don't mind, in the Q&A section, and we will get to your questions. We had somebody say, "What a beautiful name." So, how are you holding it up through COVID?
All right. You know what? We're surviving, but I don't know if you guys have heard that in Quebec, as usual, we're very unique and we like to be different. I don't know if you guys know, but we are still sort of in a lockdown here, right? We can only show properties for clients who are going to move in before July 31st. These are being called priority transactions.
Smart.
Yeah, smart. But so I'm home. Working from home. I'm lucky that I also sell new construction like you guys, and just had a meeting a week ago with the developers, and they're actually offering 5% discounts to our close-knit clients.
That's incredible. Good for you.
So that's actually sort of a positive. It's limited time offer, but of course they're still getting sales from international buyers, believe it or not.
And how's that being received by your clients? Have you spoke to your clients where they're looking for deals? Have you how are your investors reacting to when they see deals like this? Are they questioning it like, oh, is it because they feel the market and the prices are going to come down? Or are they like, okay, let's go shopping because like the real estate's on sale? How are they responding?
It's a mixed feeling. I have a few clients who've actually lost their jobs at Air Canada. I just found out this past week. So they had bought condos with me, and they're sort of like, do we keep going? A few of my friends too, Air Canada, I guess it's just happened this week that they all got their letters. So that's kind of bad news. Then I have the other ones that are, they're in a good position. And I think this is where, from an investment point, if you're in a good position and you have your finances in order, those people are telling me, let's go. I'm picking up 2, I'm picking up 3. I just closed on a 12 door in Sherbrooke. So those are the people that are like,
wow.
Helen, I'm looking for deals now. I want deals. So it's really, and this is how it's going to play out probably in the rest of Canada. But what I'm seeing is it's the finances, right? That's what's going to drive what Jas was talking about, the seller's market turning into a buyer's market. Is there going to be enough buyers? So right now we're still in a seller's market. Our first quarter, broke all records.
Montreal was hot.
Yeah, since 2000, we haven't seen records like this. 13% increase in sales. But we're down listings, right?
Right now, Helen, sorry to cut you off. I'm curious. Was that all based on supply and demand and immigration coming in, like similar to Toronto? Is that what was kind of spurring on the market? Because you guys were seeing some hot, like you were probably seeing 15%, I think you mentioned.
Yep.
And was that spurred on from immigration, people coming into the city?
Absolutely. So immigration, new jobs, a lot of the tech sector, the artificial intelligence hub that we have here in Montreal, Amazon coming in, Facebook coming in, Google, all these big name companies, by the way, that's been like under the radar. It's like nobody wants the others to know that these companies are coming into Quebec and, investing, actually not only for their businesses, but mainly immigration. Rental market has been very tight. But I just looked actually at the stats for March. So that's first quarter was like off the charts, sales up, listings down. So pure seller's market, high demand on the buyer side.
And
so
that was
that
was the exact same as Toronto, right up to the second week of March where it stalled. Go on, Hal. Tell us a little bit more about that dynamic.
So we actually stalled. I know I've been following the rest of Canada, but we actually stalled the most from what I've seen. We were asked on March 19th, March 20th, we were asked to halt everything. No visits, nothing.
Well, Quebec was also hit the hardest in the whole country as well.
Which was fine. But I'm just saying it was a complete halt.
Just a quick question. Is that because it's a older population as well? Is that why?
I'm guessing, and I've been following it a little bit, but trying not to drive myself crazy. I'm guessing it's because we're really close to New York. We have a lot of people who travel to New York and Florida. Yeah. And so the time of our school break, by the way, is not the same time as yours. So what happened was right after the school break, which is our first week of March, everybody came back from New York and Florida and all these other places. And
it got the population sick.
It blew up. Yeah. So I think it's because of that. So what happened was, here's what happened April 20th, because now we're May. So April 20th, we're told by the Government and Buyer Association, we can start doing visits only for people who are moving out July 31st. We're not allowed right now, as we speak. This is huge. We're not allowed to put up new listings, guys. And we're actually fighting this. I don't know if anybody knows, like we have a battle going on.
They're going to drive a seller's market.
Yeah, so
they're going to create a bubble.
Yeah, so this is driving all of us crazy. Like all of the owners of agencies, everybody's contacting our association, the government, saying, "Hey, you're actually stalling you're letting people, for sale by owner, go and sell on their own because you're telling brokers that we cannot put up things for sale. So we can put up things for sale. We're just not allowed to get a photographer in. We're not allowed anybody to go in. The inspectors just got the green light last week. We were just able to get inspections going. So it's really like baby steps. So we can make offers. It's pending visits, but we can't go in to visit. So investors are having a little bit of a hard time. We can put in offers, no visits, unless you're going to occupy by July 31st. So that's tough.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Jesse, I had a question if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
It doesn't sound like I really wanted to ask you what your opinion was on an investment style that works today during this and that's going to work well after. Do you think you have a clear enough direction to be able to answer that?
You mean in terms of like what strategy an investor should be taking right now?
Right now, like or maybe what kind of position? Yeah. So we have a national listenership. If somebody is ready to make a move into the Montreal market, what would you recommend they do?
Well, first of all, it's going to all depend on your finances, right? So you have to have your finances have to be in order. they have to be in order. And if they are in order, let's look at your budget. So if you're looking at, let's say, under 500,000, you can get into the new construction condos right now, downtown, great locations, right next to the universities, which I've had a few people do. And right now, like I said, I'm working with 3 builders, top builders in Montreal, that are offering 5%. This is not something they're advertising. They're only working with their VIP brokers. And so it's 5% discount, which is amazing, right? So you have the appreciation, which has been great in Montreal. What's good about Montreal is something Jas said before. We are a slow and steady market. We're not except for the last 2 years, which sort of, blew up. We're very slow and steady. We had a little bit of a slowdown in 2012 because of politics and stuff like that. In 2008 and 9, like everybody else, that was the buyer's market. And then we just switched to a seller's market. So we've been waiting for the seller's market. So if anything, there's 2 predictions going on in Quebec in general. There's either going to be, sort of a tapering off where it's maybe minus 1% on prices, maybe minus 2% till the end of the year. We're just bringing ourselves back to what, that's not a big deal. Yep. The worst case scenario, and this is if people lose their jobs, if people cannot get mortgages, because it is getting tougher on the mortgage side here anyways. We're looking at, down 5 to 7% by the end of the year. That's the predictions we're getting from our association, from, our statistics that we have. But if you're in a position, I would say our prices are very interesting here. We're still undervalued. People don't understand. We are undervalued in rents and in values. So if you can get something in the next 2-3 months, and there are people who are going to be needing to sell, there's opportunities. I would say Go for it.
Awesome. Now a quick question about Montreal. You mentioned downtown Montreal. I only go there and to party most of the time, and I see it at nighttime. So you're gonna have to even educate me. But what are some other 1 or 2 areas outside of downtown Montreal that investors might want to take a look at? Like something like here we have Toronto, downtown Toronto, then we have the greater Toronto area, and has its own little pockets that we as Simos and I as investors, we like to actually invest in as well. So what's maybe 1 or 2 areas outside of downtown Montreal that you're bullish on?
So there's the greater Montreal area, similar to the GTA. So what I'm looking at right now in terms of my own investments as well is south. So there's two areas south of Montreal, which is called the South Shore. So Montreal is an island. For those who don't know, you got to get off the island. There's water. You got to get on a bridge. So take the bridge, go south. Great, better rents, better returns. It's just that's where you need to be investing. And there's also north. So north, there's all the aerospace industries, which we don't know what's going to happen to them, but right now they're still going on strong. So north of Montreal, which is Mirabel, and South Shore, which is basically Longueuil, Brossard. And if you want to go really south, like some of my clients do, you would go like south, which is Sherbrooke. So north of Montreal and south of Montreal.
Awesome. Yeah. Helen, thank you so much for joining us on this virtual flight. We really, really appreciate it. For anybody who's watching, and this goes for all of our other stops that we're making along this trip. If you need to get in touch with any of our realtors that we just put that are going to be coming on screen here, just reach out to us, info@reccanada.com. We'll give you their contact info. These are guys and gals that we have done business with personally ourselves, or have introduced hundreds of clients to, and we definitely vouch for them. And so, Helen, thank you once again.
Thanks to you guys.
Thanks, Helen. Kalimera. We'll see you soon.
Kalimera. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Where are we heading over to next, my man?
Is everybody ready for a little Ottawa? I think we got Mr. Ottawa himself coming on.
I'm in the mood for some shawarma, so maybe we should head over to Ottawa.
Why, they make some good shawarma in Ottawa?
Supposedly they make the best shawarma in Ottawa. maybe Tony, unmute him, buddy. Let's unmute him. But maybe Tony can tell us. Tony, do you guys have the best shawarma in the country, or what?
Yeah, the primo shawarma in Ottawa.
Why your Lebanese people are better than our Lebanese people? I don't understand.
I've never tried Toronto shawarma, so I can't compare both, right? So next time I'm in Toronto, you guys can take me to a shawarma place and I can let you know.
Well, look, there's going to be a fight breaking out here soon virtually because Helen's like, there's no way that Ottawa has better shawarma than Montreal. So
listen, I love Eleni. She knows that. She knows I love, I love Montreal. I love Helen. But no, we're going to have to disagree on that one. By the way, Simos, is that a 90 behind you or is that a 40?
No, it's a 90.
It's a 90. Okay.
I just tacked on 50, might as well. Okay, guys, honestly, being 40, it is hitting me in waves. I really don't care because it's a day after. It doesn't matter. But every time I think about it, I really can't believe I'm 40. I'm not 30 anymore. It's over. Now you're 40. My kids are like, you're old. You're like, yeah, dude, I'm old.
We were speaking about it last night on Nightcap that it seems like it was yesterday, 1999, going into the millennial. Going into 2000 and everything's got Y2K and all that kind of stuff. It feels like that was yesterday. But at that time, you were 20 years old. No offense, but you were a young punk. Yeah. You know what I mean? You were 20 years old, right? And so that's moved quickly. Mr. Ottawa himself, Tony Miller, sir. We've been connected for a very, very long time. You've helped a lot of our clients. You're our go-to guy when it comes to Ottawa. Someone gives us a call and it's like, stop asking us about Ottawa right now. We need to get you in touch with Tony. Right. He's the guy when it comes to specifically investment real estate, because it's different, right? I think we can all agree that realtors, there's 100,000, I believe, in the country, and not everyone is cut from the same cloth, right? Some are better at helping someone to buy their first home. Some are better at selling a home, selling a condo. But when it comes to investment real estate, it's just a different beast. It truly, truly is. No knock on anyone else's business model. No. But when it comes to investments, you need to know numbers. You need to know ROIs and cash on cash and cap rates and where's a good place to invest. What is a tenant looking for? And so right. I'm so proud to have everyone that we have on today because everyone's cut from that cloth, right?
Yeah.
You deal with lots of investors. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah. And it goes back to you guys for, who you surround yourselves with, I think, right? Because I'm looking at the list of speakers there, and wow, it's amazing. So you guys bring on some really talented people, but you're also right when it comes to the when you're working with an investor realtor, I think investor realtors also have to be able to explain, you mentioned the prices, the rental rates and all these numbers, IRR and return on investment. They have to understand it, but they also have to be able to explain it in a way that people can understand, especially newer investors. That's important, right? And they also, I think we're in a position where, because we both work with a lot of newer investors, right? We have to be able to tell them, walk away from that crappy deal. Okay, forget it. We're not in it for the money. If we're not in it for the extra deal or getting the bronze award or the gold award, it's really just, listen, man, this property sucks. Okay, Tony, the numbers.
Tony, do you think that has something to do? Because you said investor realtors. I'm not talking about an investor-focused realtor. I'm talking about an investor realtor, a realtor who is an investor first.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you're not an investor, you can't feel the hurt of making the wrong decision.
Right. And then this is an unpopular take in Ottawa, because I've said it many times before. And I said, if you're working with investors and you're not an investor yourself, you shouldn't be working with investors. How can you represent their best interest? You can't.
I agree.
Can you?
No, you can't, because if you don't know how it feels to sign on a dotted line when it comes to an investment property, and you don't have the stomach for it yourself, how do you have the audacity to ask somebody else to do 100%. That? If you don't know the feeling that you get when your tenant doesn't pay rent and how you went through that, the experience of it, you should not be. You should not be speaking to anybody about investing in real estate.
Absolutely, yeah. And
you don't have it. Yeah, if you've never done it yourself, then there's no way. Now, Tony,
Yep.
Talk a little bit about kind of pre-COVID, what was happening in Ottawa? What were you excited about? What were you seeing? Yeah. And then we'll kind of transition into what's happening right now.
Sure. Well, apart from me being excited about shawarmas, the first part in January, things were really smoking. It seemed like 2019, whatever was happening in 2019, which was really awesome, carried into 2020. So January, really busy. We were really on an upswing. And Ottawa, just very similar to Montreal, it was just on an upswing, very busy, seller's market, not a lot of inventory. And February was the same thing. And then we started hearing about COVID. And then I think it was mid-March where we were told, okay, listen, the state of emergency is kicking in, or there's going to be some restrictions coming on in Ontario mid-March. So the first part of March was very much like the beginning of the year. The second part of March is when we started to notice some changes. And once we got into April, things have really dropped. So we've really seen decreased showings, limited number of new listings coming on board for sure. And definitely lower listings. Number of sales dropped for sure. But we noticed the same thing as Montreal, I'll keep saying that, is that the prices have dropped, but not crazy, like, right? The sky's not falling sort of thing. So we're doing okay. And right now we're seeing, I think there'll still be like a small price drop overall, but we're doing okay. Interestingly enough, when it comes, if you're an investor and if you're working in Airbnb, you're actually looking for 30 plus day rental stays. If you're into Airbnbs as an investor, that's what you're looking for. And you might have to decrease your price a bit, but you're actually getting some good tenants for a little while, short term to midterm.
Who are the tenants in Ottawa? Is it all government employees? Like, what have you seen in the T-minus how long you've been doing this for? And really actually the last year to 2 years, who's been the tenants?
Oh, it's a mix. So we have immigration in Ottawa is higher than the provincial average. So we have immigrants coming in. We have in-migration, so people from other parts of Canada coming in, moving to Ottawa because we have high-tech sector. So a lot of people coming here to Ottawa for that. Of course, we have the government jobs. We have 150,000 federal government jobs. So people are coming in, and a lot of people who work for the government are renting as well. We have a lot of industry folks, but also, Jas, I think we're kind of unique in that we have diplomatic people as well. And, everybody who works for the embassies, that type of thing. So they're looking for rentals. And of course, students. We have 4 post-secondary schools here in Ottawa: Algonquin, Carleton University, Ottawa University, La Cité, and those are the main tenants here in Ottawa. That was probably the same as anywhere else. Like, students have gone home. A lot of them have gone home, and filling vacancies right now with students, are looking for students to fill those student rentals has been hard. Not impossible, but definitely harder.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just spoke to my good buddy, Sean Ziegelstein. He's a broker here in the city. And we chatted. We're just catching up this morning. He wanted to wish me a happy birthday. And I said, "Are you hopping on the brunch later? Are we going to see you?" He goes, "No, I'm actually heading over to St. Catharines to take care of the residents for my kid." I was like, "Oh, is that early?" He goes, "No. Great deal. I got to pay 4 months up front for a vacant unit, but it's still happening. Kids are enrolling and stuff is moving. So we are going to see a lot of that inventory get absorbed. We are going to see that over the summer. For sure. As things ease, we're going to see the inventories ease. So
yeah, and from a multifamily residential perspective, it's really dry. There's nothing out there. I'm looking at the new listings coming on board every day, and maybe 1, maybe 2. Typically this time of year, we see 250 to 300 multifamily residential. So your duplexes, your triplex, your fourplex, and I think we're up to 65 active listings. And the ones that are there, they're probably garbage anyways, right? Yeah. They're there for a reason.
I actually think there's a lot of pent up supply coming down the pipeline. I mean, we've been speaking with clients, and it's just like, Jas, I have somebody elderly in my home. I don't want to show the house. We're like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Just wait. But we probably have 40, 50 listings that are just waiting. They're not all investment properties by any means, but sellers are just waiting, and we're actually telling them to wait. We've been saying this since day one of our brunches, and I think it was within the first week of lockdown. Like, if you don't need to sell, don't even think about it right now. Yeah. Like, just hold on. Let alone in the best markets. Unless you need to really sell, don't sell. Just refinance the property and flip it to yourself, refinance it, take out 80% of the equity. Like, it's quite easy, right? So there's really no need to ever really sell unless you are experiencing some financial hardship.
100%. Like the people are saying, well, what's, how do I find properties, or what's the best ones that we can find? Or Tony, I'm looking for like a 5+ unit type of building. And oh my gosh, I'm pulling out whatever hair I have left because on it, like you guys know that, the larger buildings, 10 to 30 units, those are the best asset class. That's the type of building that works really well in this type of situation in COVID, right? It's recession proof. You might lose 5 tenants who can't pay or have vacancies, but you got a whole bunch of other units that can sustain it as well.
So why don't we explain that just very quickly for our audience, because that's important. The reason why multifamily is by far the most sought after asset class in real estate is because of the risk mitigation. You're spreading all your chips across a much bigger tenant pool while still maintaining a lot less capital expenditures, meaning 1 or 2 roofs, 1 or 2 boilers. Your capital systems, your operating systems are controlled, and you have a big tenant pool to spread any vacancy across. Tony, what other benefits does multifamily provide? Like during a time like this, especially?
Well, I think like this, we're going to see the prices maintained. We're not going to see, any type of large decreases. The demand for multifamily commercial buildings will be there. Apartment buildings. Now, I'm not talking about mixed use or office or industrial, right? We're just talking straight up apartment buildings. Because if you own a business or if you own a building with a business in it, it's probably, it might be a little bit challenging right now with all the businesses that are going under.
So that's kind of what I wanted to get to. So I asked Tony, what other advantage other than risk mitigation is there in multifam? And that is the fact that the price does not get affected in a downturn because the tenancies are still there and the asset is protected because of that reason.
Yeah.
So you maintain value. You're not going to see a fluctuation with the market.
Yeah.
If the income comes down a bit, you're going to see a small decrease in your price, but it's not going to fluctuate with the market like this. No. It'll be like this.
Right.
It'll be like this.
Yeah.
So those are huge advantages. Thank you.
And, I think for anybody who's looking to find a property like that, then I think there are 2 people or 2 type of owners that you're looking for. Is one, maybe the ones who are retiring from the business, they're ready to cash out and they're tired of COVID. Okay, maybe they're open to it. And the second ones might be the ones who are just scared, they're scared shitless, if I can say that. They're scared, so they just want to. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
No, it's all good.
They can, so they just want to sell, like a panic sell sort of thing. But I've been saying to all of our clients, when it comes to ones who have properties and are thinking of listing, I'm telling them, listen, man, ignore the headlines. Ignore the realtors, ignore the investors out there who will be knocking at your door asking if you want to sell, and remember why you bought the property, right? You bought it for a reason. It's good returns. No need to sell. If you need to sell, let's talk about some creative ways to let it go where it's to your best benefit. But right now, I totally agree with you guys. Like, no, man, don't sell. Just freaking hold on to it.
Yeah, like you mentioned the headlines, right? And the media. Remember, if it bleeds, it leads. And so what you hear and see a lot of right now is 87%. So I like to make sure that you kind of try to shut out the noise as much as you possibly can.
Thanks, Jazzy. You had frozen for a second there, buddy. But we're just getting Tony to put up his chart. He wanted to share a chart with our audience.
For sure, man. Go ahead.
Do you guys see it?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So this is his Ottawa historical sold prices with major events. So I just wanted to show historically what has happened in Ottawa with, sorry, 1 second, in Ottawa with major events. So we go back to 1956 and we look at the sale prices and the impacts. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you see like in red, there's recessions, there's government program review, there's 9/11. So those are all the major impacts or major events that have, you would think would impact the real estate market. But going back to 1956, you can see that the two biggest ones really happened in 1961 and 62, the recession. If we look at the recession in 74 and 75, there was a small dip there before it bounced back up. 1980s, I keep hearing my dad's stories about, owning a house back in the 80s. And yeah, prices dropped, but it didn't drop below zero. And then we got into government program review. And so that was really when the government, the Liberals, decided to cut the deficit. And so they cut almost 17,000 federal government jobs here in Ottawa, which reduced confidence for consumers. So nobody was really buying anything. So housing prices really dropped. And then 9/11 hit, right? And we see where, that didn't really do much. And then the 2008 financial collapse, and it dropped a little bit, but nothing much. And then look where we are today. So I think just going back historically, I think it's safe to say that based on years past, that Ottawa is going to do well with COVID, right? You don't have to panic. Look at us historically and the reasons why we've done well, why we've been buffered so much from previous events is because of the 150,000 federal government jobs, the high-tech sector, the immigration, the transit, all the economic fundamentals are there, right? So we've just been buffered. It doesn't mean that we don't hurt here in Ottawa, because there's a lot of people who are hurting. We just don't feel it as much as other parts of the country. So Ottawa's in pretty good shape, and I think we're going to do okay moving forward. Moving forward, I think in the next couple of months, I know that people are saying there's a lot of pent-up demand, hey guys, but I don't think it's going to be gangbusters out of the gate. I think it's going to be slow and easy. The only time buyers are going to come out, I believe, is after they have enough confidence that they have their jobs, that there's some stability happening, then they'll come out to buy. Until they see that, they might be hesitant, they might hold off. So things will start getting better in terms of sales, but I think it's going to be slow going. It's going to take at least a year, I think, just for everybody to feel, okay, I'm confident, I'm ready to go buy. I have some money for a shawarma, so I'll go out and buy that. And,
So Tony, a guy calls me tomorrow morning, says, I'm really thinking about making a move in Ottawa. What's your number one investment strategy or asset class that you would put on a client with great confidence today?
Right now, today, I think it depends on what their goals are, what their financial sandbox is, what their risk tolerance levels are, putting all that. So just generally, I really like freehold townhomes. I really do. I really like those. And I think right now would be a good play to get into, whether it's in the East End or the West End. Multifamily residential, of course, those are always good. There's just nothing out there. So I would just sort of, back away from that. And even some condos, guys. Like I'm not a huge condo fan as an investor myself. But yeah, here, there are some now that can actually cash flow a little bit because the rents have increased. By the way, did you know, like in March 2020, condo prices increased 27% year over year?
Wow.
We're not surprised by that. And only because we live it here every single day, right?
Yeah.
It's the new first time home buyer purchase, because someone at that age group of 27-ish, call it 26 to 37, 38, no longer is the dream to own a backyard with a white picket fence and a driveway with a car, like a garage. It's all about lifestyle, and majority of the time condos are built in urban areas, and that's where people's jobs are, and you can walk to work, you can take transit to work, and you no longer need the 2,500, 2,000 square foot home. You're okay with 450, 500 square feet, less to clean, less to handle, no maintenance involved. And it's funny because someone like Simos loves all the maintenance around the house, and someone like myself, I can't stand it. I don't even want to do anything with it, right?
Yeah. Do you think that will change though, guys? Do you think like one of the trends that we'll see is that because of COVID and because we're all, we don't want to be close to other people in fear of connecting or contracting a virus, that the trend will be that, screw it, I don't want to live in a 600 square foot condo. I want to go buy a suburban home out there, and I want to go in country acreage, get away from people. Do you think we'll see more of that?
I think, like, I mean, that might be taken into consideration from some people, but by some people, sorry. But when they actually look at the cost of a home, even going a little further out into like the greater Toronto area here for us, B, then the fact that you got to drive an hour and a half to get into work with traffic, lifestyle, I believe, and this is just me, that lifestyle is going to trump the concern of living close to people, because we're going to figure that out. We're going to figure that out. I think there's going to be a much bigger play on taking care of your own immune system. I think people are going to sit back, and hopefully everyone around us, but what I'm hearing and seeing is, how do I actually protect myself from catching any virus? Forget COVID, because there's probably schmovid coming around the corner for all we know, right? How can we protect ourselves internally? And it really comes in with what you're putting in your mouth half the time, right? And so, if you can protect yourself from that perspective.
Yeah, and it's also
No, go ahead, Tony.
I was just going to say, like, health-wise, it's important, like protecting yourself, but also financial health, right? I think we're discovering that a lot of people, really don't have their finances in order, or they don't have enough, in reserve to be able to survive. That could be investors. It could be just everyday people, right? They don't have that whole, what happens if, things worked out, if we lose income and we don't have enough saved up, having cash flow is important, and access to cash is important.
Like, I think putting aside people who lost their jobs, and obviously I feel for them, and we all do, but in overall, I mean, if you look at the numbers, 85% of people are still employed. I mean, our unemployment last time I checked is at 15%. But I think this is a great reset button for everyone. It's just from a financial perspective.
And a wake-up call. Jazzy, it's a wake-up call.
Yeah, right. Like, and now you realize, do you really need that pair of Michael Jordan shoes for $500? Do you really need that car at $700 payment when you can get away with one at $300? Like, you know what I mean? That reset button, I think we needed it in society, and like you guys are calling it a wake-up call, and it's that. I think people are going to start to realize, like, we can downsize. You no longer need to keep up with the Joneses, or we say it in Brampton. You no longer needing to keep up with the Sings anymore. Like, my cousin bought a 3,000 square foot home. I need to buy a 3,100 square foot home. That's no longer, I think, and I hope people start to realize you can be in a 500 square foot home and having a kick-ass lifestyle, right?
Yeah. And it's exciting. I think, like, I know it's a difficult time for many, but at the same time, I'm feeling some excitement about moving forward, because it's like you say, it's a refresh. It's a way to put on those goggles and have a different view of what can be done for the future. And the future, to me, is exciting. So I'm looking forward to it.
Tony, we love you. We have Justin Warren and Kelly waiting. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much. We will be in touch. As I probably froze.
No. Look at the poll. I don't know if you can see it. Where can you find the best shawarma?
I love it. Let's get that poll going. Guys, give us the answers. Tony, as I mentioned earlier, guys, we'll get you in touch with Tony if you're looking for something, possibly in Ottawa. In fact, you're also going to get an email. Everyone here and live on Facebook and YouTube will also receive an email after this webinar is done. It's our REC wrap. Not Simos and I singing or a shawarma wrap. It's a wrap real estate action plan. It's really where we sit down with you for 20 minutes, virtually, obviously, and figure out, as Tony mentioned, the importance of understanding your financial sandbox. Where do you sit right now? It's something that we've been doing for 15 years, and we'll get you in touch with the right people. Tony, love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Thanks, Tony.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, let's go over to Justin. As I said, I know I might have froze there as we bring on Justin Konikow. Everyone will be receiving an email within a couple of hours after the brunch is done. The team is already setting it up. It's our REC wrapped real estate action plan. We've been doing this for 15 years. There's no cost for it. You'll sit down, we'll speak for 15 minutes and get a better idea of where you stand and where you might want to go. What's your real estate plans once we get out of COVID? Justin Konikow. How are you doing, my man?
Good, my man. How are you doing?
Good. I'm going to steal what you say all the time, right? Iron sharps iron, and Tony mentioned it, and we had Helen on, and we're going to have Warren from Edmonton, Kelly from Vancouver, I love it. I love the fact that you're here because we all get to kind of sharpen our skills and get to learn from someone like yourself. You're obviously dialing in from London, Ontario. Talk to us, man. What's happening there from a real estate perspective, buddy?
Yeah, so I'll touch on that first one. What's up, Simos? Happy birthday, buddy. Is it today or is it yesterday?
Both.
Both. Okay, well, the whole weekend, of course. I love it. Awesome. I'll touch on a few points. First of all, I thought this was like a family brunch, and then you got Tony dropping cuss words, talking about shawarmas. I don't really know where I'm going to go with this, but I'll keep it clean.
Hey, Justin, we've known each other long enough. You know it goes off to 57 tangents, man.
I know. But what you said was bang on, right? Iron sharpens iron. The group of people that we see here, absolutely tons of love for all of you. And it really speaks to, when Tony's talking about how we're talking people out of selling properties, that's just a common thread amongst this entire group, right? Is there's not a single person here that needs to sell you anything to be okay. And that's usually the people you want to surround yourself with because, they don't really have an ulterior motive. They've, seen success. They've had mentors in their life. They've had people around them lift them up, really give them a hand up in times of uncertainty and everything else. And then as a community, you see how powerful that is. So I do want to kind of lead off with that. I'll jump right into it. And, the first thing I'll say is I've got a pile of offers. I just submitted one while Tony was actually talking. I have a showing that I have to leave for right around 12. So I'll stick to my 15 minutes. I won't talk for an hour like I usually do. And I've got 2 more this afternoon. And, when I talk about showings and things happening, we've just adapted to how things are being done today. So I will be wearing a mask. Everything will be sanitized. The lockbox sanitized in. I sent COVID disclosure documents and indemnifications to everybody going into the property. Like we consulted with lawyers, other experts like you guys and Hedl and other people that we're all friends with. Okay, so how do we navigate these waters? And
that's right.
To be quite frank with you, business has gotten better. Like we are in a growth stage right now. We just took on a few new team members. We're deploying more capital towards, some marketing things for our clients. We just added a huge component to our production component of our business so that we can service our clients better. So
love it.
It's just, but again, right? Like I do want to be very cognizant that not everybody's in this position. So the first thing I'll speak to is you're in one of two positions. Either you're in a position where, you've really been conservative over the years. You have a kind of a big nest that you're sitting on, or you're in a position where you've always ran your business, preparing for the worst times. You have 6 months of reserves or whatever that looks like. And you're able to support your people through these times, right? And that's not saying that if you're not in that position, you're a bad business owner or anything. It's just sometimes it's the business that leads you to be in that position. Like we've had talks about how well we want to keep our teams, going and really support them versus just saying, hey guys, sorry, you're laid off, and eat it as business owners so that we have that loyalty and that community coming out of it because it's going to be a lot stronger. But I also have clients that are in the restaurant industry that have to board up their shop. They have to get the reduction. They have to lay people off. And, I'm doing everything I can to support those people and, understand that there's two sides of the coin, right? And, go from an investment perspective and it's the exact same thing. So, we've been preaching for years about running your numbers correctly, working with the team and make sure the property makes sense, make sure the asset makes sense and do those deals. We've also seen that the market's been fat and we have people that are running around running best case scenarios, selling snake oil. And a lot of those properties are not necessarily doing good right now because say all the Airbnbs aren't working. Well, they can't rent it out to somebody because the numbers don't work anymore. It's just a very different dynamic, right? So it's hard to just say, this is what you need to do. I think everybody needs to take a very hard look at themselves. That would be my first advice. The market's going to do what the market's going to do, but what position are you in? And if you're in a position where you can't go out and deploy capital, that's okay. Work on your business. If you have money, you have time. So get around people that are in that position, find out how they got there and kind of trend and track towards that.
Sorry, just really quickly to cut you up. When you said work on your business, you might be sitting there and say, well, I don't own a business. I don't own a restaurant. I don't own a real estate company. No. If you're an investor, you are in the investing business. There's ways to work on that business. I just wanted to make sure we made that 100%.
It's right. Dude, if you're a parent, you can run that like a business. So you can run your house like a business. Everything you do has a standard operating procedure. If I cut my lawn, it has a standard operating procedure. I put my shoes on, I go outside, I put gas in the lawnmower, I start the lawn. Like I can document that process and say, okay, where can I find efficiencies, right? So do the same thing with your investing business. Like, how do you find property? Are you scraping the MLS and you think you're smarter than anybody? So you just go at it yourself and you find that off-market deal. Little unbeknownst to you, you're paying $75,000 over market just because it's off market. Or, are there different ways to do it more efficiently or leverage other people or other extra time? So again, like,
I got a question for you, buddy. What is above and beyond the fundamentals, above and beyond all the things that we tell people every day to do? And I know how much common ground we have. I know how you feel about your clients and your group and your investors. What is the climate? What does London feel like right now? Are people like, I'm feeling in Toronto that people there's a coming back.
That's exactly it, right? So what you said at the beginning, I was thinking the exact same thing. I'm sorry to cut you off, but just in the interest of time.
No. Yeah,
it's the same thing. That confidence is back.
So people are coming.
Yeah,
they're all back in.
I was on the road yesterday, and Shannon's like, "How's the traffic?" I'm like, "Normal." Like I was driving through London, going back up to the office, and then heading back home. And you really do see that, right? I think people aren't as scared now. Again, if you're, at risk or you have immunity disorders and stuff like that, then be smart, right? Like it is what it is. But the market, and let's dig into the actual numbers. The average sale price is 448,000, holding very strong. The days on market is 8. The months of inventory is 1.8. So just to burst the bubble for everybody out there, the amount of conversations I've had with people saying like, oh man, like, there's going to be so many fire sale deals, all these people that are just over leveraged. I'm like, it's just not happening. Like, if you want to wait for that, you can wait a year and then the market's going to go up 10%. You're going to pay more for your property in a year. It's the same waters we've been navigating, and you guys are brothers in arms in a different city where it's super competitive and people are like, I can't buy anything in Toronto. It's even agents say that, but you can if you know how to navigate the waters. So my response to people quite often is yes, like, COVID is a blip in the market. It's a blip in the matrix, and it's uncharted waters. So prepare for the worst, but be ready to act. And if you want to act, you have to be in a position that you understand what you're dealing with, right? So if you go in blind thinking, well, every property is going to sell for $100,000 under asking price, and everything, like I pulled the stats in the last 30 days, every single property sold for 99.6% of list price. Everything under 500 sold for over 100%, right? Wow. So like. The other thing I do want to touch on, Jas, is the news is an absolute joke. And I've always said that, right? Like if you go back to my content from years ago, I've always said, when you're looking for real estate information, don't go to the news, because all they're going to do is they're going to look at the different statistics we have every month, find one that's negative, and then harp on that. Oh, builders' inventory's down. It's the middle of winter and they're not issuing any permits. Or, right now the narrative is volume is down. Well, yeah, that's a fact of life because not everybody's outside, but the prices are holding fast or selling over. And then the other issue is volume's down, inventory's down. Well, where's demand? And we're seeing a big increase in demand, literally even today. Like the fact that I have this many tours booked today is an indication of where things are heading. And it's not me, the entire team is doing it, right?
I was quoted in the Globe and Mail saying that the market's going to go bananas, because I was talking to the reporter and I said, like, it should be like a tidal wave when we go back. Like, it's going to be bananas. What do they quote? Bananas. So yes, the market is going to go bananas because the demand has not diminished. The ability to purchase and move freely has. So this little blip is going to be something very interesting to look back on, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And really quickly, Justin, I just want you to give us one strategy that works really well in London. That can be pre-COVID now, whatever you kind of see. So a new investor comes up, because as we do this real estate action plan with all of our clients that are going to receive the email after this brunch, there's a section there that they can choose that say areas that they're considering. And people are going to put London and Ottawa and Vancouver and Edmonton and Montreal. And we're going to make the connection actions for everyone. But I want to know, as myself and Simos are going to be speaking with everyone and doing these coffees and this real estate action plan, what's the strategy that works well in London, man?
So I'll break it down into a few pieces, like tangible products. So obviously condos, like Tony said, London's like 5 years behind everybody else. So our price points for condos are still in like the, mid to high 2s and 3s. And these are units that are going to be worth 450 to 550 one day. The second thing I'd say is multifamily, buying, renovating, refinancing, and just holding them works well, very competitive. You have to know how to navigate those waters. London, St. Thomas has actually got some opportunity, but has less months of inventory than even London. The large multifamily buildings don't exist, right? You still can find those properties, and Uncle Jimmy the Greek that's had it for 40 years, if you can get to him off market, it's great. You can actually get a deal done if you know how to get creative about it. But I think I
do.
Yeah.
Here is my brunch. This is spanakopita.
I know. I used to make it at the deli.
So if Uncle Jimmy the Greek needs to be bribed, this is how you do it.
That guy does exist. I thought it was just a restaurant in the food courts in the malls, Jimmy the Greek. So he actually, this guy exists. I wasn't sure about that. All right.
He does. I was going to say the last thing is really, don't get emotional and trust your team, right? Like I said, we've all been navigating these waters, very competitive markets where things are selling 100 over asking price and still managing to make good buys on properties that have been listed for 6 months that nobody else could look at from the angle that our team would look at it with. So, dial in, sharpen that sword, do stuff like this, get dialed into the actual facts and statistics. And I do want to add a little caveat that, we're not the types of people or agents to just say the market's great, everything's going to be amazing. Like, this is just what we're seeing. We're saying get prepared for the worst, but this is what's actually happening today. So
awesome.
Justin, thank you so much for your time. I know you have a busy day. Good luck and success on everything that you have on your plate today. And we'll obviously touch soon. We'll touch base very soon, my man.
Good luck to your investors, buddy. I hope they get what they need.
You guys are doing good work, man. Take care.
Thanks, brother. Kick ass. Bye. All right. Now we get to go to Alberta, my man.
You want to fly across the entire country all the way to Edmonton, Alberta?
Yeah, and we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it in history. In what, 2 seconds? You're gonna bring them on.
Warren Pratt. We're going into the speed of light now.
There he is.
There it is.
There he is.
How's it going,
What's
guys?
up, Warren? How you doing, my man?
Good.
Welcome, buddy. That's a clean shave.
Yeah. Trying to keep clean. It's really the flow's getting going to be a bit unmanageable, but hopefully we'll see a barber in a couple of weeks. Right?
Friends, family, everyone safe.
How are you guys doing? Yeah. Thanks for having me on. No, I'm now really excited to bring this different perspective here. Talk a little bit about Alberta. Really this is something that we're somewhat familiar with, right? With the oil and gas market, we often see these ups and downs, peaks and valleys kind of things. So it's from our perspective and as investment realtors, it's really an approach that we've taken for a decade plus where we're looking at the long term here, right? We're looking at kind of picking out what our strategy is and what our comfort level is as investors and looking out 10 plus years, right? So this is no different to us. It's not kind of, obviously it's a very tough situation, but our approach is staying the same, right? Where's the rental demand going to be sought after? And what are easy properties to manage, maintain, keep occupied for, a long period of time and consistently. So that's really kind of the approach we've been taking. We've obviously been sitting back, waiting to see what's going to happen.
Warren, just right off the top, that whole incentive where Trudeau said, yes, we understand that oil's getting murdered right now. I'm going to give Alberta, I'm going to throw a bone to the prairies and clean up the old wells and put that money to work. I don't know how many billions of dollars they put against it. Is that something that Albertans, is that well received? Is that real? Or is that just politicians blabbering with not much meat on it?
Right. Well, I mean, with any of this, it's similar to what Justin was saying. You read the news, you see all the headlines, especially from across the nation, right? They have one perception of what's actually going on here. And really, this isn't new in the sense that people think the sky's falling in Alberta and, in Edmonton, more specifically, we have a fairly diverse economy that we really did learn from the financial crisis in 2008 there, right? Where we spread things out. So yes, we're oil and gas based, but we have education, healthcare, construction, government work, military, like it's just much more diverse than I think a lot of people know. And that's specifically in Edmonton. So we may not be as, hit as hard and things really might be more kind of normal day to day than I think that the rest of the nation would really see on a general basis. Now, of course, that we're still oil and gas dependent. So that's going to put everything on steroids for us. If it does well, we're laughing, right? But of course, we're watching to see what's going on. We're watching to see what kind of investments happening. But really, we're not worried about the 6 months here, 6 months there. We're looking at something long, like 10 years, right?
I love that you mentioned that you guys have been through this, and we watch from here in Ontario. We watch obviously what happens a lot in the West there, and specifically Alberta, because we see the peaks and the valleys, right? What have you learned? Is it just a mindset thing? Think for like long term in 10 years, or like maybe you can also speak, Warren, about what actually happens when you in the past. What's happened in those valleys to values?
Right. Yeah. So I'm going to speak to Edmonton specifically. And actually what we're seeing is a lot of those smaller markets and people often work in a smaller community of Alberta for oil and gas projects and that type of thing. We're seeing a lot of people move back to a major city, 1 million plus people in Edmonton, right? That stability aspect. But overall, we've had kind of a flat market. We haven't had huge appreciation over the last several years, even longer kind of thing. So we've been poised and ready for some growth. There's still a lot of development going on. There's still a lot of, the large developers and whatnot from out east in Toronto really making plays out here, right? And have been for several years, have a foothold here now. So there's...
I was personally supposed to fly out to look at those condos, a company here in Melbourne that we work with very in huge tandem with. They work with a developer that just built your arena in the condos above it.
Sure. The Oilers arena.
Yeah. So we were supposed to come and look at those. And I was like, well, I'm just going to we're Toronto. We're going to leave the Edmonton property for the Edmonton experts. But like, there's some big things happening in Edmonton, some exciting things happening in Edmonton.
Yeah, so that's really it's hard to quantify, right? And obviously the numbers don't always look fantastic, and in terms of growth and equity appreciation, but we've really stayed stable, and it's an affordable market, right? So it's got high incomes, and the portion of that income that has to go to your housing is very, very low for a major city in the country, right? So it's okay. We're cash positive as investors. We're very much cash positive, so we can absorb a 20 or 30% reduction in our rents and just keep going, right? So what we've noticed in the past is we've had that 25, 30% decrease in the rental rates, but we had the margin to absorb that. Right. So, and we're still cash positive, which is crazy, but that's just, it's an affordable.
It's just crazy to hear how much, because you've been in this business for so long and you're living it, you're in Alberta, you speak of 20 and 30% fluctuations with comfort. So that goes to show you the mentality is just such a resilient, it's a resilient people's, and B, this is what they do. This isn't new to them.
So remember we were speaking about having the stomach for it, right? Like as an investor now, as everybody can watch, you can see it on Warren's face. He's very confident. He's been hit in the face a few times. You can't tell by looking at your face. It's a very beautiful face to look at. However, I know you've been hit in the stomach enough times that you're like, okay, I know how this feels. It's okay. It's going to come. It's going to rebound,
Yeah, I think that sense of panic would not necessarily set it, even with business owners, right? Even with on the building and development side, this is something that people are used to. They're not necessarily going out and getting overly exposed because they're expecting some ups and downs, right? So that definitely put some checks and balances into place. What I would expect is kind of just a longer timeline on, when are things going to pop? We feel that, if you feel the energy of what's going on, the growth and the development and people's interest in, this affordable market, we've got some really unique things as a province in terms of no land transfer tax, no HST, very favorable landlord tenant board. And I've noticed that in this, scenario right now, the relationship with your tenants, because we have a fair agreement there with the landlord tenant board, and we take a full month deposit as landlords. So we have some security backing up how they treat our properties. That relationship between landlord and tenant is a pretty good one. It's a pretty fair relationship. So right now we're collecting our rent. We're fully paid up. We are re-renting and releasing places. I've checked in with our property managers, hundreds of doors. Everything's occupied. Regardless of what's said in the news and what's going on with the job market, there's still jobs out there. And we really, because we know that this is happening, we just focus on newer construction, the A1 areas. We're really approaching young families. So we want to be close to new schools, close to Costco and all those kind of parks that families want those amenities close by.
Is there a lot of opportunity? Is there a lot of opportunity right now, Warren?
Of course. Yeah, of course there's opportunity. I think on the new construction side, I think the costs somewhat are what they are. So I don't necessarily see the prices dropping dramatically. The price of land and construction is, there will be some incentives there and we'll take advantage of those. There's definitely going to be some resale opportunities. We're not seeing it yet. We're not seeing prices kind of falling off the map or anything, or really, really motivated buyers. Again, if your costs, your fixed cost, mortgage, insurance, and taxes aren't dramatic, then people they can carry it, right? They can, in a lot of cases, they can carry it. And like I said, we're still collecting all the rents.
Warren, what investor profile? So let's say there's the entry-level investor, the mid-entry, and the savvy investor. Right now, Alberta, prices are stable. Cash flows are stable with rents. There's good laws protecting them. What would you say is the perfect investor? So we have hundreds of people watching. Who should be reaching out to say, REC, put me in touch with that Warren Pratt guy. I want to see what he has up his sleeve. What guys are you looking for? Guys who are looking for cash flow, guys who are looking for stability, guys who are in what price range?
Yeah, for sure. I'll stop here. Yeah, it's cash flow. It's a cash flow market. So we have hundreds of clients across the country. So we're very used to dealing with people from Toronto or Vancouver that they've got exposure to those markets, right? And especially from an equity standpoint. But they want to take some of those profits and reinvest them for cash flow, just to stabilize and round out their portfolio. It doesn't have to be all in Alberta. It doesn't have to be all in Ontario or BC. It just provides some of that stability because we're getting, 6 or 7% cash on cash return, no problem, even with our rents being 25% lower than what, we've seen them at the peak, right? So our entry point's about 400,000, even for brand new construction, a 1,500 square foot, 3-bedroom unit with a side entrance and a full legal basement suite in it as well. So you're in that 400, 450 range as a starting price point. We've got 6 plexes up kind of in that 1.2, 1.3 range.
That's awesome.
Brand new construction. So 6 doors, brand new construction, landscaping, appliances, everything's
really
all turnkey. Yeah. So the product, your bang for your buck is just excellent, right? So if you want,
And are those properties currently available? Like there might be 1 or 2, 3 that somebody can
we
pick
do
up.
have some available. Yeah,
Okay,
we do have some available. So
good to know, because we're going to be speaking to a lot of people, close to probably a little over 100, 150 people in the next week to 2 weeks doing our real estate action plan. These questions are going to come up. Myself and Simos are going to want to help people diversify, and someone like yourself can bring that to the table. So
I'm personally interested to hear a little bit more about that sixplex. So a sixplex at 1.2, is the developer looking at putting rental guarantees in place? Is there such things like that happening there?
Absolutely, that's something that can be done. I'll tell you right now, even last week, we had a client from Calgary purchase a sixplex. So like I said, they're 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, really high-end finishings, a double detached garage, and then a side entrance, a 600 1-bedroom main floor or basement suite as well. And then so three 3-bedrooms and 3 1-bedrooms. Though they all rented out prior to possession. For that whole building was $10,000 in gross rent per month. And in this environment, in this COVID environment, we've rented out several of these 1-year leases to excellent families, excellent tenant profile. And even in this environment, they're renting out before possession. So it's, you can't get better than that. It's really at stable.
So I'm very interested. I would love to. So what I'll say is I'll make sure that my team creates, it has all our information on here. And I know for a fact, for sure, between myself and our audience, we're going to have, we're going to reach out to you.
Yeah.
And we're going to ask you to provide us with the details of pro formas, and we're going to do some deals. I like that. I like markets for cash flow, and I believe in the resiliency of Alberta because I already own assets there. So we'll be in touch on that.
For sure. And our team spent this time, the last two months here, really just gearing up. We know how these properties perform. It's something we've been doing for the last, 10 years, but 2 to 3 years, we slightly adjust our product type as prices change and whatnot. But we've been doing this. So we really just been gearing up with inventory and kind of getting those bulk deals, getting the properties lined up from single doors to 6 and 8 units up to, 20 plus million multifamily options as well. But it's all the same principles: good tenants, good areas, newer construction, easy to rent out, stable in a up and down a market. So yeah, I'm happy to help you guys out wherever any questions.
We'll get the information for all of that, and then we'll make sure that we pass that along to everyone. I love what you said, that you guys adapt and you pivot depending on the economics, because in real estate, like as investors, we know the best deals are the ones that you create yourself. You can't sit and wait on MLS, and you got to go out and do it. You obviously just spoke about a couple that you guys and your team have been able to create. And I mean, we know out of experience, the best deals in real estate are always the ones that you create.
80% of what we do or more is all off market, private.
Yeah. Same here. Same here.
That's how the business goes.
Thank you so much for your time, my man. We want to make sure that we get the plane landed in the right cities at the right time.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Amazing to have you on. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, guys. Take care.
For your patience, for waiting as well. We'll be in touch.
Take care, dude. We'll be in touch, bro.
See you guys.
Bye.
All right, Simos. We got one more stop to make, my man. I want to give a big shout out to Kelly Fry for holding on and she got on really early, as they're 3 hours behind us in the East Coast, obviously. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us on Brunch with REC today. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today with you guys. And as an investor first, just like we spoke about before, I think this has been awesome just to know what's going on in the rest of the country. And I hope that, the innovation that we've experienced during COVID continues, and that you guys continue to do this kind of thing on an ongoing basis.
Definitely. You don't need to give an excuse for Simos and I to get in front of people and talk. It's something that we like to do. It's a reason
Welcome, Kelly.
It's a reason why I started Nightcap at night, just to have a drink with somebody, just so I can talk to somebody. My wife is bored of hearing my voice on a regular basis. So again, thank you. Kelly, talk to us. What's happening in beautiful British Columbia?
Okay, excellent. Well, first I wanted to put into context for you guys that I was born and raised in Montreal. I speak French. And coming from Montreal with a certain type of real estate market, it took me a lot of years to really understand the Vancouver market. I often say it defies logic. Parents of mine and friends of mine here, my parents' house in Montreal is maybe worth $400,000. They paid $20,000 to $40,000 for it. Here in Vancouver, anyone whose parents bought a home is worth, $2 million. So to me, it's always been a mystery why people don't buy more than one property here, because if you look at the graph for the last 40 years, the return has been staggering. Now, we've come off of about a year and a half of a shift, and we saw prices drop. But when prices drop here, generally speaking, unless you're talking the high-end market, you're talking maybe a 10% drop after having had 30% increases in appreciation. So we were starting to come out of that shift. We had 9 months straight from July to March of volume increases that were running at about 40% a month. Sales were increasing in volume. Now prices were holding. And if you look at the March numbers, appreciation rates were actually up, despite the fact that as of about March 14th, we were shut down in a state of emergency here. We still had a 46% increase in volume in the month. And the appreciation increases were about, I want to say 5 to 8% in each category of condo, townhouse, and detached.
Wow.
So quite surprising. Now we've seen our April numbers aren't out yet. I was kind of able to recreate them. We're definitely down about 40% in volume. But when you've just come off of month after month after month of 40% increases, it's not a big deal really. So we've got a lot of pent-up demand. At the beginning of March, the first few weeks, we were in multiple offers and inventory was shrinking left and right. And so, it's that pent-up demand is still there. The buyers are more hesitant, and we've got all these procedures with regards to, face masks and showings. But I feel very fortunate that we're not shut down here. We are an essential service. We don't have any specific requirements other than immediately the real estate board halted open houses. So in fact, today they've launched live streaming of virtual open houses. Is that happening in Toronto as well?
Yeah.
So with some of my colleagues, we're doing that today, doing a variety of condo virtual open houses. So we've had to innovate and adapt. And
what drives these numbers in British Columbia? Like the 40% increases, like what's been driving these type of numbers over there?
Well, people want to live here. We have our temperature doesn't go below 0 degrees in the winter, and that's quite honestly coming from Montreal, why I never left after I came here. But we run at about a 70% increase in 70,000 increase in operation. And as you guys were mentioning in terms of numbers in Toronto, we have about a 1% increase in stock, but a 6.5% increase in population. So we have like a running deficit of 5% of housing stock. So our vacancy rates run under 1% in every region, all throughout the suburbs and Vancouver.
And is it a lot of condos that people, like investors that you deal with? Are they purchasing condos? And if so, is it new construction, resale, both?
We've just come off completing a big project in Langley, which is in the suburbs, that were condos that we sold to many investors. But as we move further and further out, and to get that rental to value ratio in line, we move further out, like an hour to an hour and a half east of Vancouver is where I do most of my sales. And that's because, you're getting decent prices. Now, a lot of our clients are Asian buyers, and they have a tendency to like detached. They prefer buying land. So if they're buying, they're typically looking at detached out in those areas. In terms of the closer you get to Vancouver, the more likely it's going to be a condo, just from
sure.
Point, right? But I always tell people, if you can get into a detached further out, by all means, you'll make a good return. But if you can get into a townhouse, and failing that, get into a condo, but get into something, because get in the way of the money.
Now, sometimes in Toronto, what we find tough is if you purchase a detached and it just has one door, it doesn't have a basement apartment, the rental income doesn't cover the expenses on that detached. Is that similar in British Columbia?
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking at suited houses. It's very popular here for everybody to have a basement suite. Quite often people have 2 suites. We've got coach homes behind the houses where the suite is above the garage. So that's just part of the culture here that, without a doubt, you've got to have 2 or 3 suites to make it work.
And what kind of what do you expect in terms of forecast? And I'm not sure if Simos lent you his crystal ball yet, virtually some way somehow. Give it over to her. Come on, pass it over. Good job. What's your forecast for British Columbia? Like what do you think are the numbers might be looking like once we kind of come out of this COVID time? Call it September time, just for argument's sake.
Well, I'm telling especially investors right now, interest rates are ridiculously low. Supply is low. If you wait too long, you're going to miss the opportune time right now. There's fear in the market. Be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy. So, get over your hesitation and just look at the reality of it. I know prices are going to hold. I have no doubt. Will they rise? I suspect yes. By the end of the year, they will definitely rise. Maybe it might only be 5 or 6 or 8%, but I think that we'll see increases in price.
What is a good strategy to deploy in that Vancouver and that is it the tri or 4 cities that are surrounding it?
Richmond and
all over Vancouver. Like I do a lot of business in the Fraser Valley. That's a little so Surrey, Langley, Abbotsford, Mission, Chilliwack, those areas. But any area. I'm glad you brought it up because I'm so excited to talk about my favorite strategy, which is Airbnb. So I'm personally running 4 Airbnbs. I'm about to launch my 5th one this weekend.
Awesome.
And, despite the beginning of COVID, where we had mass cancellations from foreign people and from even other parts of Canada, I found myself with full occupancy for the whole month of March and April in all 4. And I had lots of people self-quarantining, self-isolating. I had people that were between rentals or sold their place, and the demand is definitely there. The name of the game is to undercut the hotels and provide, professional photos and, nice services for people. And it's so easy to make that.
So Kelly, you met Bobby, went out because Vancouver was the last trip I made before COVID. We were there for the mastery.
Yes. Yeah, that's
Bobby,
right.
Bobby, who's our director of operations here at the REC.
Yes.
Bobby does the exact same thing you're doing with Airbnbs. He has had full vacancy, more stable tenants, self-isolating, changing scenery, unbelievable stuff. I never even thought that existed.
Simos, you meant to say that he has full occupancy, not full vacancy.
Full occupancy, excuse me.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted I just want to make sure I heard it right. In terms of Airbnb, you mentioned something about undercutting the hotels. I don't know if there's like a rule of thumb. Is it 10% less, 20% less? Because there might be somebody listening that could take that tip home with them.
Yeah, it's just knowing, like going on Expedia and knowing what they're charging. Sure you're under it. You've got the cleaning fee that they don't have and a few other fees. But, we're in a market that's expensive. But as like Toronto market, the gains in your net worth from the appreciation are so substantial that it's crazy not to invest here if you can find a way. And, with innovation, like those kind of strategies, rent to own, furnished rentals, Airbnb, you can make the numbers work. And like you said, you have to create, or Warren said, create your own opportunities as an investor.
Right.
Kelly, sorry.
No, go, buddy. Go.
Are you able, so if a client tells me, I was always thinking about Vancouver, and I tell them, I know somebody who can put together Airbnbs. Are you able to put these together for clients?
Yes. I have a person who does property management for the team. I've been training her to do it for clients. Some clients are hesitant because it's a new concept for them, but we are available and able to do that.
So my question is, are you able to also ongoing manage it? Like you have cleaners and...
Yes. And that's the key to success. I have different cleaners for different regions, and I've sort of put them in charge of restocking supplies, and I'm going to get them to start doing the reviews. Try and make it as hands-off as possible with lockboxes, etc.
So fully turnkey investment, fully turnkey process.
Amazing.
Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today from beautiful British Columbia. Shout out to your team. I see some messages coming on. I think some of your team members are on as well. Thank you for you all joining us as well. Is there one tip?
Cameron Manning, man.
I think that was the name that I was seeing. Yeah. Is there one tip you want to leave our viewers and listeners with today? Could come from a real estate perspective, a mindset perspective.
I think, I heard a number of years ago from the Real Estate Investment Network that only 4% of Canadians only 1% of Canadians own more than one property, and only 4% of Canadians own more than one property, and only 1% of Canadians own more than 3 properties. Okay. And that has always stuck with me. If you think that, it's uncommon what you're doing, it is uncommon, and it's a small network of people that are doing it. But, ironically, the people that retire wealthy, there's 5% of them. So I think it's the real estate investors that retire wealthy. And it's just such a simple plan. And don't be bogged down by the noise right now. Just look at the numbers and look at the interest rates and look at the facts. Like Justin's numbers were unbelievable in London. So take action now while others are afraid, and you won't regret it. You'll look like a genius in a few years.
Look, I mean, I think 90% of wealthy people are real estate investors. That's just a proven fact. They own some type of real estate. In fact, a lot of them necessarily don't even own where they live. So, there's that school of thought as well, right? Just buy real estate and rent it out. It works, guys. It does work for sure. Kelly, thank you so much for your time again.
Thank you guys for doing this for all of us.
Amazing seeing you again, Kelly. My regards to Cameron and the team. You guys take care. I love visiting your city, and I love seeing.
Come back again for sure.
We will, no doubt.
Okay.
No doubt. Take care.
Bye. All right, Simos, we did pretty well on time. For everyone that is still with us right now, you will be receiving an email in the next couple of hours. It will be subject Inside REC-RAP Real Estate Action Plan. This is something that myself, Simos, and the rest of our team have been doing for 15 years. So for the last for the last month, what I've done personally is sat down with my lawyer, my real estate lawyer, my corporate lawyer, as well as my accountant. I've actually given Simos my portfolio to kind of take a look at, just to get a set of second eyes, because we have some time. And so we thought it would be a good idea to offer a coffee with myself and Simos and the rest of our team. It's about 15, 20 minutes. You're going to get an email and an opportunity to click a link and an image where we're going to actually sit down for 15, 20 minutes and do what we call like a portfolio analysis, real estate action plan. And here will help you diversify. Possibly if you already own properties, maybe we can help you diversify and put you in touch with one of the realtors that we had on today. And we have realtors right across the country that we couldn't obviously get everyone on today. Or if it's your first property, it's really the best time to sit down and, as Tony mentioned, kind of get an understanding of your financial sandbox. It's something that we've been doing for 15 years. Thousands of investors have taken advantage of this. There's no cost for it. All you're going to do is click the link, fill out the information. Everything in that on that page is kept private and confidential. And then someone from our team will be in touch with you within the week. Just make sure you know if it's better to get in touch with you day, afternoon, or evening. It's our real estate action plan. Now is the time to take advantage of this, because we have a little bit of time to set up what we can possibly do once we get out, like fully get out of COVID time. As you also heard, there's still a lot of opportunities happening right across the country. You might be able to take advantage of one of them if you're financially sound. And we would love to even be another set of eyes for an opportunity that you're looking at with anyone. And so please take advantage of our real estate action plan. You're going to receive an email within the next couple of hours, and that's going to be a 15, 20-minute coffee to sit down with myself, Simos, or someone from the REC team, and we'll go through your financial analysis. Guys, you have anything to add, Simos?
No, man, I think you did a great job with the coverage. I think all our guests today were top notch. I mean, I personally have a big interest. I want to talk to Warren some more. I love that confidence when you have that much confidence when your market fluctuates like that, I'm just interested in spending more time with a guy like Pronto. Like, how are you not only okay, like you're an investor, like he's a big investor. Like if nobody knows that, Warren's big.
He slipped it in there. He said he had hundreds of doors. Like,
yeah,
that's him personally, guys.
So like these guys are moving and shaking. So I want to have a call with him, and I think you covered really well. I mean, we're going to be putting out an email. If you guys want an intro or our opinion or whatever, man, like this is what we do. This is what we do.
This is what we do. We've been doing it for 15 years. I can tell you, it's the feedback that we have gotten from that real estate action plan is in the thousands now, because there's no cost to it. We're just going to sit down, see if there's some holes in your portfolio. And like I mentioned, I needed Simos to be another set of eyes for my portfolio. He had set me over his, just to kind of look at, hey, maybe you can move some money here. Maybe we can refinance and look at an opportunity here. I know this past week we spoke with some REC insiders, and it's like, there's nothing that you should be doing right now. Sit back and relax and just take it easy. So really, really, really excited for you guys to take advantage of our real estate action plan. As I mentioned, you'll be getting an email. I just got a note here that somebody says, I'm a newbie. It's a no-brainer for you. I apologize. I missed the name that came up. This is something that...
Marianne Watt.
Was it? That said, I'm a newbie. You definitely should take advantage of this.
Just reach out, Marianne. It's
15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you next week. In that email, if you scroll down, you'll see another image that you can go back to all of our past recordings of our brunch. Go fool around in our YouTube experience, our REC experience, and get some content. There's over 250.
Thank you for all the birthday wishes. Much appreciated.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Everybody be well. Enjoy your weekend, guys. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.